Aliens!
Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with a quick little Dino Fury discussion. It's some small news, but it presented an interesting little bit of a talking point I wanted to talk about. That's why it's called a talking point. Some ideas about it I wanted to get out. So, recently the listings for the Dino Fury figures have been found, and so we've gotten some little minor character descriptions on the ones that have been found, and most of them are uninteresting stuff like, oh, Blue's gonna be the serious archetype. But Red had a little bit something interesting. It says that he is going to be an alien warrior. This is Red from Dino Fury. He's gonna be an alien warrior that leads the team, and his name's Zaito. I don't know why that always reminds me if anyone's seen 21 or 22 Jump Street when he's like, you can say anything you want, and then he goes, Fiato, and every time I see that I think Zaito. Anyway, covalent bonds. So, I wanted to talk about this because I had some interesting theories based off of it, just on how they could use this, because I think this is interesting. I know there's a lot of people that have been upset, and I get it. I think they're blowing a bit out of proportion, but upset that we have alien antagonists again. And then there's people now upset that Red's an alien, and it's not exactly the first time we've had like an alien-esque ranger. Like, does Andros count as an alien? I never understood. Does he? But the point is, this isn't the first time we've had an alien ranger. You have Mercury Ranger, you've had all kinds of different kind of rangers that were non-human throughout the course of the series. But I thought this presented a couple different possibilities that I thought were interesting. I mean, given that the villains are also aliens, they could tie him to the aliens. He could somehow be related to them, or find out he's related to them or something. Given that the fact that they're giving this information in the toy description, I imagine he'll know he's an alien. But you know what I mean? I mean, that could be interesting. It definitely could be a little bit cliche. We've also done stories where the Rangers are somehow related to the villains. But there is some interesting stuff in Ryu Soldier about how, obviously, the backstories of the Dreadons and the Ryu Soldiers are tied together from the beginning, but when you get later in the series, you find out they're even more intertwined than you know. And, you know, lots of Power Rangers series will take either directly from the Sentai, or they'll take kind of a loose inspiration from it. So if they decide to take some loose inspiration from that, there could be some interesting stuff in the way they tie Red and the villains together, especially if they do something with the Geizorg armor, and maybe the Geizorg armor belongs more to the villains in this, and then tie the two mythologies together in a way like Ryu Soldier did, where maybe the villains were a split off of the original group that the Rangers represented when the Morphin Grid was brought to Earth. And speaking of, that's another thing, is in that little teaser trailer they showed, they mentioned how thousands of years ago the Morphin Grid was brought to Earth, and it kind of implies that's when like the Dino Fury like installation was brought to Earth, like the powers or whatever. We still don't know how that works exactly, but that brings up a couple different interesting ideas I had. One of which is they could go Jew Ranger, where Zaito is Fiato. Zaito is one of the original people that showed up 10,000 years ago, and he's been in stasis, or he's like an immortal being. I think that could be interesting. I think it could lend to some fun fish out of water humor if he's out of stasis. I mean, I think they did a funny job with that with, what's his name? Gold. Dude, Ivan, there we go. Knights of Amber Beach, seriously. The real Dino Knights, the Knights of Amber Beach. But there could be some fun fish out of water humor with that. And then I think that'd be interesting to have a more direct tie to the past mythology in terms of like the past Dino Fury Rangers and how the Morphin Grid got there. Or he could be a descendant. Like it was like aliens that brought the powers to Earth all that time ago, and he's like a descendant of them, and that could also be potentially interesting depending on how they play it. I think the thing about all these ideas is there's lots of fun ideas I'm having about it, but it's probably going to end up being some cool ideas, but just not taken advantage of, like Beast Morphers. But I think it's at least fun to think about, like, would he be a descendant of the aliens that brought the powers to Earth, the original Dino Fury Rangers? Would he be actually one of the originals? That could be interesting too. There's the talk of like the Master Rangers, you know, who they studied from before, and there was like speculation like, oh, they're gonna be the MMPR Rangers, but I kind of presumed they were gonna be like the original Dino Fury team. Like, what if Red, being an alien, was part of the original Dino Fury team, and then his other team was taken out, and he's having to work with a new team? That could be potentially interesting as well, because he'd be used to working with that old team and all that, and he'd have more experience. These are just some thoughts I have. What do you guys think about the idea of Red being an alien? And what do you think are the interesting ways they could potentially use it for story? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can notice my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.